Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and today I am bringing you X-Men the Animated Series. Yes, the pinnacle of X-Men animated series, 1992 to 1997, 5 years, 5 seasons, and 76 episodes of greatness. Well, not all of them were great, but they were pretty damn awesome. This was on the Fox Children's Network. It was produced by Saban Entertainment with Marvel. Um, and this is like top notch fun. You hear the opening theme, and you're right there. That theme was actually pretty dang amazing. I actually had it on my phone for a while as my ringtone because it's so cool. So it's the X-Men animated series when you have basically this setup of all the characters. You have Cyclops, you have Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue, Storm, Jean Grey, Beast, Jubilee, Morph, Cyclops. Professor Xavier, and it was so incredible because they were very faithful to the comics, even though they had to adapt it with changes because certain characters weren't there or available. But it was so good because yes, it was aimed for children. It was aimed for a toy line that they were doing. But it was so much more. They did so much with it. They dealt with divorce. They dealt with faith in Christianity. They dealt with the Holocaust. They dealt with loneliness. They satirized TV and the over the top reality of that. They dealt with AIDS. They dealt with hysteria. They dealt with death and slavery. And so these were a lot of issues that are kind of heavy for a children's show, but they handled it. They handled it well and interesting because the comics handled them. And I think basing it so much on the source material like they did really helped them out. Chris Claremont, who was the basis of most of all this stuff that is in the X-Men animated series, his work is really legendary, and he made the X-Men what they are. And thank God we got all of this. So all the designs are based on Jim Lee when he redid all the X-Men for X-Men 1. And it was so cool. You have such great dynamics, and I thought the voice acting for the most part was really, really good. The animation was, when we were watching it when it came out, incredible and fun because you never got to see all this before. Now it's a little like dodgy. There's some points you're like, I don't know about that. But it was so good. You have all these great things come from it, and not just all these great moments and memories of watching it, but you also like really funny lines that have just become iconic, like "Playtime's over," and "Do you know how much this arcade cost? Yeah, a quarter." Uh, Does a mall baby chili fries? You've got "Meet me at the monorail," and "Lighten up on the speeches, sugar," and "I'm as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs." So I had all these like fun little quotes that I will still use from day to day because yes, that's who I am. But it was so good, and the interplay with all the characters, they all got moments to shine. They all got a story that was central to them to develop. It was all very, very interesting. I really, really loved it. The first season we had the introduction, Night and the Sentinels, and we had an X-Men die. And that on their first mission, which is sort of reminiscent of when Thunderbird died on the first mission of the new X-Men, All New, All Different. And you have all these, emotions going between Cyclops and Wolverine of you never leave someone behind, but they had to leave Morph behind, and Morph died because of it. So there's this animosity brewing, not only because Wolverine is in love with Jean, and Jean's in love with Cyclops. So there's that. There's all this great layering of tension and emotion that's rife throughout the entire series, which is really, really great because it allows for a lot of depth, a lot of creativity in storytelling that is just pretty incredible, and it's really, really beautiful. You have Magneto, you have Mr. Sinister, you have Angel becoming an Archangel, which was a really great to see that. You have Genosha, so you have the dealing with the mutant slave trade. You have Cable coming into it. Um, then in the second season, you have Jean and Cyclops getting married, even though Mr. Sinister faked it. You have Xavier and Magneto in Savage Land, so that was kind of the B storyline for the entire thing because they were missing for the entire second season, and that was pretty cool to see them, and you get a taste of what their history was and what their friendship and relationship was to each other, and I thought that was really fascinating to have them kind of go off on their own and kind of have that going on. And then, of course, you cannot, you know, the amazingness that is Phoenix Saga and Dark Phoenix Saga in the third season, and that was just incredible because a lot of it was really just taken from the comics, adapted, to make sure that characters who were there, who weren't there, are now represented in somebody. But it is so good and so amazing, and probably the best representation of the Phoenix Saga that we'll ever see. I'm looking at you, X3 and X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I'm just really, it was really, really fun to see. It was a great story for her. It really gave her all the stuff that you wanted Jean to see, like those kind of things. The fourth season was a little more focused on Wolverine. And interesting enough, they didn't think they were going to get a fifth season. And so they kind of ended it there. But lo and behold, they got a fifth season. It was actually, I think, by a different company. So that's why the animation was a little janky in that fifth season. But in the fifth season, you got the Phalanx Covenant, which is a really fun storyline that they adapted. You had Jubilee's Fairy Tale, which was pretty cool, harkening off of Kitty's Fairy Tale back in Uncanny X-Men, I think, 143 or something. But it was really, really cool. And this series, not only did it faithfully kind of adapt the big hits of X-Men, it also allowed for a lot of fun interactions and new kind of pairings that we weren't ever expected to see. And I thought it was really, really great. And another fun thing that they did when this was coming out, they basically did comic versions of each episode. So you had five volumes of X-Men Adventures, which is basically every episode put into comic form, which I do have because I'm that kind of guy. Then there was maybe a few years ago, they did an X-Men 92, which was sort of an homage version of X-Men animated series, where they took the characters from the show and kind of did a little, updating to them, but even placing it back in that kind of era, which was really fun and a great kind of nod and a wink to, the story and the animated series. And they, when I think about the X-Men animated series, I also think about, how they kind of come up with the concept for it, how they kind of make it work. What is it they do to kind of start off when, the first episode? And, if you know X-Men, you know the 05, and that's the starting point. But for the X-Men animated series, yeah, that may have been the starting point, but there's a lot of things that kind of contradict it. The continuity is a little wobbly in places, there's a great series will have some things that are wrong with it, and these are the things that, as a real big fan, I kind of like. So you have in the first season you have Archangel, and then none of the X-Men really knowing who he is, which kind of kills me a little bit because he's an original X-Man, and we didn't see Iceman until like the third or fourth season, and then they kind of recognized that he was an X-Men from the past, and kind of made that kind of connection, which was nice. And I think that's probably one of my favorite episodes. I think it's called Cold Comfort or something like that. But he's his girlfriend, Polaris, the green-haired mutant who's Magneto's daughter, has left him to join a different team, and he thinks she's been kidnapped. And he goes to the X-Men to get their help, and they go to follow a lead, and they end up fighting X Factor, which is the team that she has joined with Havoc, which is Alex Summers, Cyclops' brother. So you get to see that classic 90s X Factor team with Havoc, Polaris, Wolfsbane, Strong Guy, Quicksilver, and Madrox, the Multiple Man. And that was really, really cool to see because you got a lot of fun interactions with the fighting between them all. And Forge is also in that as well. But it was really fun to see that. And there were a lot of really good teases and takes from the comics that they kind of really let you know how important things were. You know, Jean's the first one to find out that Corsair is Cyclops' father, but she doesn't say anything. And that's like such big, big news. And then finally, we do find out, you know, he feels he's lost his children, and Cyclops has lost his dad and parents. And then you get a moment later on in another episode when they find out who they are to each other, and it's just this like it's everything you kind of want it to be, which is really awesome and a mark of a great storytelling series. Um, so that's really awesome. There was some great like the Little Morlock, Have Yourself a Little Morlock Christmas, which was a really cute one-off episode. You have some great like when Alpha Flight comes back to take Wolverine. That's a great uh, episode because you have all of Alpha Flight, which I love, and the X Men fighting against each other over Wolverine, which was really cool. Um, but this was such a series that was near and dear to my heart. You know, 5 seasons, all those episodes. I could watch them all again and again and again. Um, and I tell you, once I hear that theme song, it takes me right back, and I'm like, in. I'm in. It's the greatest intro, the greatest introduction of animated series ever. Because I'm just, it's, you know who the characters are, you get a taste of their skills and their power, and it's just a great freaking theme song. Anyway, I want to know what your favorite animated X Men animated series episode was. Who's your favorite character from it? Let me know. Comment, like, share, and I'm going to be back with some more stuff with you. I know you're going to love to see it, so stick around, and it's all geek to us.